Kia ora everybody, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Te Haunui. This is Creative Curiosity. Today I wanted to talk about a couple of things, and these are things that have been on my mind for a little bit and things that I think could add a bit of value. So first thing is about role models. A little while ago I learnt about, I think it was from Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he said, don't quote me on this too, I'm pretty sure it wasn't him, but I can't be 100% certain it was him, so take this with a grain of salt. But what he said was, when you have role models, instead of looking up to everything that person does, selecting areas or attributes of that person that you would like to replicate in your own life. And the reason I say this is in regards to, in our country in Aotearoa, how we have famous athletes and everyone always puts this pressure on them and tells them, you're a role model. Pretty much what they say is like, you have to be a perfect human being. You can't play up. You can't, you can't fall off. You can't, you can't have a bad day because kids are looking up to you and people are looking up to you. And I remember hearing that and thinking like, that's not fair on them, because we all understand that there are times when we have low energy, times when we have, days where we don't feel ourselves and we make decisions that, aren't reflective of who we are as people. And so what I'm trying to say is, when you're looking to model somebody, look up to them for the certain aspects of them that you would like to model. You don't necessarily have to look up to the whole person. If if there was someone you looked up to as a role model and they were a really, really productive person, they were a successful person, in whatever sense of the word success means to you. But then on the other hand, they were an abusive person, they were abusive to their partner, or they were a person who lied a lot, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people think that because of these negatives from people, they, sometimes just forget about all the positive things that they do in their lives. And this is not to pardon them of their wrongs that they do. This is just to say that you can pick and choose which attributes from individuals you would like to model in your own life. And that was a lesson I learned a few years ago, and it really, really made sense to me, and it sits well with me. And that's sort of how I've tried to lead my life since. I look up to a lot of people from many walks of life, from many areas of the world, from many times, from the past as well as right now. And when I think about it, the person that I want to become is a combination of all of these people that I look up to and have looked up to. So that was the first part of this podcast that I wanted to talk about. I hope you take something away from that. The second part I wanted to talk about was about being a people pleaser, not being able to say no, worrying what other people think, and things of that nature. And this is like, being vulnerable. Like lately I've been, like, the more I get into these vulnerable spaces, I realize the easier it is to do so. Obviously sometimes they're easier than others, and I'm not a person who's easily can go into that vulnerable space. There are times when I put my guard up and, I can't talk at all and I don't feel like talking, but I'm dealing with it. And lately one of the outputs has been just writing, just journaling. But I wanted to talk about this because lately I've been getting a few requests for participating in certain projects or things like that. And it's becoming easier to say no to projects because I'm aware of the amount of time that I do have, and a lot of the time in my day now is committed to becoming a better version of myself and becoming the version that I want to become. And obviously with that, my time that I do have to do other things has been cut down. And then, with all of these requests to do other things, I find myself being stretched. And the only reason I'm being stretched or can be stretched is if I allow it to stretch me. That's if I allow people to persuade me into helping them with their own individual projects, or, so on and so forth. But most of my life, I've never been able to say no. Like, I've never been taught how to say no. So, there's no surprise there really, but it's in my nature too to not want to hurt feelings. And the way that I had and that I have been framing it in my mind and telling myself is, if I say no to somebody who's asking for my service or a product from me or my time, if I say no to them, I feel like I'm hurting their feelings, and I don't like hurting people's feelings. And that's all played in my mind. That's not necessarily what's actually happening in reality. And so for the longest time, it's been really, really confronting for me to say no. But as time has gone on, and as I've learned more about myself and learned more about other people who understand their value, I've become more aware of my value, and understanding that people who do request your time and your unique capabilities, there is obviously some value in that, some value in you, why they are there in the first place. And then as time has gone on some more, I've come to realize exactly how valuable my time is, because there are things in my life that are important. One is developing myself. That's both mentally, physically. One area that I'm working on at the moment, which is a new journey, is spiritually. Socially, in terms of my whānau, my loved ones, my friends, trying to spend more time with them and more quality time. And then my work. I love my work. I love all the things that I get to do. I'm super privileged and grateful for the work that I get to do, and I believe it's meaningful work and it can impact people. So with all those things in mind, there isn't much time left over. So with that, it means that the time that I do have left over has to be valued as such. It is rare. It is time that could be spent doing more of the things that I already do and that I already love, and that contribute positively to all aspects of my life. So when anything comes into that small gap of time that I do have, I have to understand that saying no sometimes is healthy, but also through my journey and through my becoming more aware of myself and understanding why it is I do the things that I do, I understand that sometimes saying yes to things that scare me can be positive as well. So really, really what I'm trying to say is, if you're a person who struggles to say no for the same reasons that I said, I encourage you to develop yourself in the ways that I have said to, in order to become more confident in who you are and what you have to offer. And then when you do so, when you do become more confident, you become more competent. And what that means is you become better at it. And when you realize that value, you understand that saying no is a necessary part of the process, and saying yes to certain things is a necessary part of the process as well. So that was a little bit of a dive into how my mind works and around certain things. I hope some of you can relate to it. I know it's I think it's to do with maybe being an introvert, because I'm an introvert. If you didn't know, I'm an introvert, and I heard this cool thing from Chameleonaire on the Impact Theory podcast with Tom Billieu, and he said he is an introvert who can act like an extrovert when he wants to. And I feel like I'm that kind of person. And I've come to realize also that all of my introvert kind of qualities are the things that have gotten me to where I am. My belief anyway is it's the reason that I'm creative the way that I am. But also what I do understand is the extrovert qualities that I haven't worked on or that scare me, like confrontation, for example, are the reason that I'm not where I could be. And that's just my idea. Like, I think confrontation is an extrovert quality. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that's in confrontation's been another thing that I've been super, super scared of. And I just get real like hot and I feel like I can't speak. But I know through working on these things, I could get better at it. And this is just letting this out and just talking about this sort of stuff helps me develop myself. And I hope you're all taking something away from this. And that was pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this episode of the podcast. I've been quite enjoying these sort of kind of like journal entries. If you know somebody who could take something away from this, be sure to share it to them. If you took something away from this, I'm glad and I'm grateful that you're here listening. So that was the episode. I hope you enjoyed this. My name is Te Haunui Tuna. This is Creative Curiosity. Enjoy the rest of your day and I'll see you guys in the next one. Mō ora.